Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today we are going to be discussing how Putin has tricked the deep state into the gold standard and what that means for every country to follow. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and David can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. David, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Nick, 2 weeks since I saw you. At least I'm back in the studio this week. I'm good, mate. I've been doing a lot of interviews, editing from the stuff I recorded last time in Ireland. That's all gone down very, very well. The interview I did with Elena Danan in a pub in Dingle has been very, very popular. She's great. What have I been doing? Staying really on what's been going on in the Ukraine and Russia. This seems to be the main topic that everybody wants to know about now. So there's a few little points there that I'd like to share with your viewers. Absolutely. And you look well.
Thank you. Thank you. I done an interview with Charlie just 2-3 days ago.
Oh, did you?
We had a very interesting conversation about the gold standard and like you said, with 5,000 rubles, was it, to 1 gram of gold? Do you want to just tell us what that means? I mean, what is 5,000 rubles if we were to convert that into dollars or pounds? And then we can understand that is the equivalent of what one gram of gold.
Yeah, it's very clever move, this, you see, Nick, because look, if we go back and we see how all of this has started, basically Putin said, don't put nuclear weapons on my doorstep. We don't want them on our front porch. And he's been warning NATO for years and years, but they keep creeping forward, breaking their agreements, breaking what the words were. And finally, he snapped. Now, it's not the only reason he's gone into the Ukraine. There are other reasons as well, which we know about. We don't have to get into that for fear of censorship. But what's interesting is, as the West put sanctions on him, he said, okay, he's way more intelligent. You cannot show me one other Western leader that can outsmart Putin. I mean, you're talking chalk and cheese. You mean, you think Biden could ever go up against him? And it's like playing cards with a professional poker player. You can't read his face. You don't know what he's going to do. He'll walk you down the street one side because he knows he has to go to the other. So when all these Western leaders said, all right, we're going to put the sanctions on him, they played right into his hands, because now what he's done is he's got rid of MasterCard and he's got rid of Visa. He's put a Chinese system in place there because, again, these companies like this just hold you to ransom. If you don't do what we're going to tell you to do, you better play ball, buddy, or else we're not going to give you. So you don't get stuffed. You think you're the last Coca-Cola on a beach on a hot day? No, there's other payment card mechanisms out there. The Chinese have had a very successful one. So you got Visa and MasterCard have pulled out. Then he told all the journalistic companies to pull out, saying, listen, anybody that's found talking and publishing and broadcasting lies will be and can be imprisoned and fined. And what did they do? They literally must have gone back to the hotel that night and just gone like that with all of the stuff, zip, into a suitcase and took off, because they know. So yeah, people like Apple iPhones have pulled out of Russia. It's all a big bravado. He doesn't care, because now the main thing that people want from him is his fuel. I'm talking butane gas pipelines going in there. So he said, okay, you've cut off the SWIFT banking system. We already set up an alternative because we knew this was going to come. You don't want to pay it. We don't want to take your dollars anymore. We're Russian. We're taking it in rubles. And what we're going to do is we're going to fix the ruble against a gold-backed currency. So for 1 ounce of gold, you're always going to get 5,000 rubles.
You mean 1 gram of gold?
1 gram. What did I say? 1 ounce. 1 gram. Yeah, 1 gram. Ounce is an imperial system.
Is that expensive? Is that a lot?
Let's have a look. Let's have a little look on Google. You do that while I carry on. Can you do it at the same time? I'll have a little look now, because it fixes the price, Nick. And this is where all the oil traders and everybody, 1 gram of gold right now.
Well, 5,000 rubles in pounds, apparently, according to on Google, it's 45 pounds and 13 pence.
Yeah, $61.9. So there you go, 1 gram. And that's about right, you see. That's always going to be, I mean, it's just dead on that. I've never actually looked at it before. It's dead on. So now he's got all of his exports all trading in the currency that he can control, because it doesn't matter what's going on with the British pound or the Venezuelan bolivar or the US dollar. He's like, doesn't matter. It's always going to be this price. This is it. Right now it's 5,000 rubles, and maybe it's going to go up to 6,000 rubles for oil or gas or whatever. So he's got them. I mean, they all fell into it. And America is still forced to buying oil from him. But now it's going to be on his terms, his exchange rates. They're going to have to put more money into it. So he's so clever, Nick. And people misunderestimate him. They think he's a tyrant. He's been in this business for 50 years. You know,
please.
No, go on.
How about the gold? I mean, does he have a lot of gold in Russia? Or do you think that the gold that was confiscated by the military from the Vatican, 650 airplanes back to the US, apparently, do you think that the Jasara for Russia is sort of going into that way, into that direction?
Absolutely.
And that he was maybe he was given some of that gold that, you know.
Absolutely, he was, because all of these major countries have got it. We know the UK's got a lot of gold now that they're not talking about, because the White Hats have brought it in preparedness for this event, when now all of these currencies are going to have to back up the currency that what's in circulation with gold. Now, during last summer, the summer of 2020, 2021, summer to autumn, my friend has a sister, and her sister is married to a military guy who was one of the guys in charge of running the transport of the bullion that was arriving in the UK. It was coming in through Southampton, and they were bringing it in on aircraft marked with Red Cross. It looked like it was coming in from private protection equipment for you know what, but it wasn't. It was bullion, and they were moving it to a secure location and ready. So the UK's got some, but I tell you who hasn't got any is Canada. Canada has no gold reserves. They have silver, which is also considered a precious metal. So Trudeau is absolutely, really, really nervous now, considering the tyranny and the acts of pure hatred against his own people by, you know, taking all the money during the trucking protests, locking them down so much. So Putin, as far as I'm concerned, is playing. He's got all the cards. And Nick, if you allow me to screen share, I'll show you some of the statistics of the equipment that the Russians are blowing up every day. I've just got to go back in, so bear with me. I have to find it, but there's no way that the Ukraine can sustain this sort of these numbers of all of the equipment being destroyed on a daily basis. It's extremely, extremely high numbers. Well, you know what? I can't find it in there, but I can find it on here, Nick. Sorry,
Okay.
buddy. I've closed some of the apps down. Yeah, if you think about what he's doing every day and the numbers, there's no way you could sustain that sort of accountability. Where's he getting all the equipment from? It's just, I'll read it out to you. In total, 124 aircraft and 77 helicopters have been shot down by the Russian armed forces that were Ukrainian. So this is all Ukrainian damages. 214 unmanned aerial vehicles. These are drones that are made in Turkey. 321 unmanned aerial vehicles, 1,750 tanks and other armored combat vehicles. Do you know how much one of those tanks is? About $3 million. I think there might be more. 184 multiple launch rocket systems, 734 field artillery mortars, as well as 1,640 units of special military vehicles and armed forces of the Ukraine were destroyed during this operation. So that was about 4 days ago. So the Russians, the soldiers, are very highly trained. If you look at them, there's a big difference here, Nick, and this is going to sound bad, like I'm attacking people, but while the American forces and the British forces have been letting transgender military people come in, men as women and women as men, and messing about and doing, getting involved in all of that side, being far to the left, Russia's soldiers are lean, mean, hungry, and strong, and extremely well trained. Now, the Ukrainian military forces are extremely the other way. They're right-wing and very, very dangerous because of their political beliefs. But if you think Russia's a superpower, and they've been at this since World War I, since the Russian Revolution, since 1900 something. You've had 2 world wars. No one's ever beat Russia. Napoleon never beat them. They've never been beaten. So their armed forces is extremely capable. And he's known about this for a long time. So he's been training all of these special units, the Spetsnaz is what they call them, the Russian special unit forces. The equipment he's got, the technology he's got is all developed in-house. They haven't farmed this out to American technology or German or French or Israeli. Whereas the Ukrainian have got a whole mixed bag of all this stuff that's been piling in. They're saying, oh, take these rocket launchers, take these grenades. It won't matter. You will never be able to beat the Russians because they're just relentless. But they're slow. They're like a tortoise. They just keep banging away, banging away. And the military's tactics they're using is very interesting. It's called the cauldron. What they do is they find a pocket and then they say, okay, we're going to surround it, cut off all the reinforcements and the supplies, and they just wear them down. And they creep forward inch by inch, and they're evacuating civilians from these areas at the same time in minibuses and anything they can, really. And what they're doing is, unfortunately for the Russian military armed forces, is they're taking very, very heavy losses because Ukrainians are snipers. They're trained at this. They're good at this sneaky stuff. So the Russian armed military forces are losing a lot of men and personnel. It's not just men in there. There's women in the Russian armed forces too. So, but they're doing it slowly to try not destroy the entire country, to not tear it apart, to not have a load of collateral damage, which was an expression invented by the Americans when they were going into Iraq and the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, Afghanistan, Sudan, Somalia, all of these countries they went into. And they're trying to do it as literal, as clean as possible without killing the civilians and blowing the place up and blowing it all to hell. Otherwise, he'd just send in his Air Force and it'll be done in one day. So every day they come on and they give you the statistics about what's been destroyed, what they've been finding. And I've seen some extremely disturbing videos about what the Russian soldiers have been finding in bunkers, Nick. And I don't even want to put it out there because people won't believe me because I wasn't allowed to take copies of the material. But it involves, terrible.
What does it involve? Come give us a scratch.
Well, it involves children, Nick. It's children.
Okay. I think it's something what Charlie said as well, because Charlie said that he knows a military that's in the Ukraine, and he said we're only leaving until the children have been rescued.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now that we've said it, I wasn't sure if I could go there, but the Russian troops that have been encountering these were not trained for it. And they've been very traumatized on an emotional level. So they've been taking them out of the field and putting them into therapy straight away because the things they've seen there, they weren't expecting it. And it's basically pulling kids out of bunkers that, they're from thousands of miles away. They're from Asia. They're not even from the Ukraine. How did they get there? This is the whole question. Okay, if there were children from local orphanages, like what this happened in Romania when they went in and Ceausescu was overthrown, they found hundreds of thousands of children in orphanages all over the country that were living in terrible conditions, but they were Romanian children. You could explain how they got there, unwanted pregnancies or abandonment, whatever. But these kids are clearly not Ukrainian because they don't understand a word. And you can see by the complexities in their ethnic races that they're not even from that part of the world. So how the hell did all these thousands of children get there from Southeast Asia, also India? There's Indian kids there as well. And this is the big question. So all of these people that are squeaking the most and screaming the most, these are the ones that have got the most to lose. So Putin, every time he comes on and does a speech, he's showing evidence of what they're finding. The mainstream media refusing to publish it. And he just keeps shaking his head saying, when are you people going to wake up and see what the truth is? Mm-hmm. And they're trying desperately to keep it out. And I saw that news clip yesterday that the press conferences that they're doing in the White House are not even at the White House. It's a totally different studio. When's that happened? Why is that all of a sudden the norm? When for the last let's say 100 years, when newspaper journalists used to go to the White House and get a statement from the current president's team, secretary press, they always go to the White House. Why are they not at the White House now, Nick? What's going on? Is the White House being refurbished? Is it, is there a bad drain there that nobody can stand the smell? Or is it the fact that it's not really the place where the president sits anymore? This is just many questions that remain unanswered. It's fascinating what's going on right now.
So if Biden's not in the White House and Trump's not in the White House, what do you think is really going on in the White House? Do you think there could be tribunals in there?
Yeah, I think there's that's a very strong possibility because the way they reinforced it, there are no riots planned. The truckers didn't get into the states, into the capital of the states. They weren't banging on the door, but they reinforced the whole building with fences and walls and security. I don't think Biden's been there for probably ever as a president. He might have been wandering around the halls just for a few little photo ops, but I don't think so. And I think Trump's deliberately staying away. He's focusing on what he has to do. But as each week goes by, another million people wake up and realize this is an absolute show of bad actors just going through the motions to say, look at Nancy Pelosi. She's drunk every time she gets on that stage and she's shaking. You can see her, And Biden's getting worse and worse. I mean, he doesn't know the difference between the Ukraine and Iran. Iranian, then he calls them Iranians, which, as far as I was concerned, is some sort of nuclear radioactive device, isn't it? Uranium. So think about it. Boris Johnson, Nancy Pelosi, and Biden, yeah? Then you've got that idiot in Australia who went on holiday when the bushfires came. He just took a holiday and half of Australia burned. Then you've got Jacinta Ardern, who's, she might as well just put on a square helmet and grow a small mustache because of the policies. Then you've got Mr. Castro in Canada. And then you've got Macron. You've got the guy in Germany. You've got the guy in Austria. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Spain, Sanchez. Every one of these political leaders is not a leader. They have no backbone. They've got nothing to show that they've done anything good but strip of every single economy of jobs. Millions and millions of jobs and billions and trillions of dollars have been wiped off all these countries. Every single country is heavily, heavily in debt. The Irish government been paying people to stay at home. I think it was the same in the UK. The Spanish never got paid. The Spanish had to use all of their secret savings because you can't keep anything in the bank here because the taxman just goes in and helps himself. The hundreds of thousands of Spanish families are now poverty stricken. I know because I hear about it and see it. Same in the UK. I was back in the UK. I could see how many shops have closed now because of what's been going on. But Putin's the only one out there that makes any sense when he says things like, these Western leaders have no backbone. They have no intelligence. They're leading you into the abyss like lemmings jumping off a cliff if one of them jumps off in front of you. And he's taking care of business for the Russian Federation. And we can't go into it now because of censorship about exactly what else is going on in there. But they found over 35 of those special facilities. And that's not bullshit.
We can say labs. We just can't say the BW.
They found those labs and they presented all the paperwork. They've shown where the funding's coming from. And they're so desperate for it not to come out. And then there's another, now we're talking about Hunter's laptop. Another amazing story where the New York Times and all of these large respected institutions of journalistic integrity have been holding their heads up saying, no, it's all lies. Now, a year later, after you've had the Biden stan, this Frankenstein stomping around in the White House, now they're saying, actually, this seems like there's something interesting about this whole Hunter Biden's laptop thing. But this story's rolling out. He's been thrown to the wolves now because not only has that laptop got a few compromising pictures on it, Nick, it is absolutely hammered and loaded with emails and bank account transactions and bank statements showing where every penny's come from and every dollar's come from. And there's been hundreds of millions flowed out from the Ukraine into Delaware corporations. And it clearly shows where everybody's been getting it. And it's just a matter of time now before all these people have to stand and explain this. And something else I found out. A lot of the major Capitol Hill investment experts, such as Nancy, are all calling in their investments now in April. They've all come to fruition and term. So basically, they've had like investment shares in, I'm just going to make something up now, Coca-Cola. Okay. They're getting rid of all of them in April, right now. So I heard that from an investment expert. I did an interview with a couple of days ago. He says the Capitol Hill top elites are dumping all of their stock. So there's a little hint for anybody who's got anything interesting. I wouldn't hold on to it personally. I don't have anything on Wall Street. I never trusted the rats. Rats in suits.
So they're selling all their shares in all these billion-pound or trillion-dollar companies. And that's because, why do you think? Is it because their assets are being frozen? Are they being forced to sell it because they're being incriminated? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the stock market is already about a year and a half over the normal average time it is that it goes pop. It hit it in October. It tends to go bang in October, Nick, when we have like Black Wednesday. They're always in October. The last 3 or 4 big dips where people lost billions on the stock market, on the Wall Street, and etc. It's always happened in October. But these guys are dropping all their shares a few months before that. So it gives them a chance to do it. The prediction is there is going to be a big Wall Street dip. And it'll be such a big one. It'll be a recession. It won't be a recession. It'll be a depression because the money won't be worth anything. It'll be like Germany in the 40s, well, the 20s, actually, 20 and 30s, where you need a whole wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread because none of these currencies have got anything backed against it. And they're all doing leverage. If you put $100 in, they're letting people lever 1,000. So when they're putting all of these longs and shorts on all of the stocks and shares, it's all being manipulated, controlled by special secret handshake clubs. But now all these guys are being exposed and brought down and kicked out of the club. So the Capitol Hill elite are dumping a lot of their stocks and shares now in April because the contracts have expired and they're not renewing them. I don't exactly know how it works. For example, you say, I'll take that for a year and I'm going to bet that it's going to go lower. So my shares will be this. So if anybody's watching who has got that, you need to watch what these people are doing. Look into their personal wealth management funds and see what they're dropping and drop the same thing.
Now, gas prices in the UK as well as the US, they're just going to the roof, And do you think this is a way for them to make up the money that they wanted from us during the scandemic? What do you think?
I think it's, again, more fear factor. You've got to go back a little bit further than that, Nick, because I don't believe in I don't believe in food shortages, and I don't believe that there's fuel shortages because they're always in a 6-month lifespan, You can't just, if the price of a barrel of oil changes today, they've got hundreds of millions of barrels of oil all on the high seas at any one time. It's all being processed. So what they're doing is deliberately manipulating the market to fearmonger all of us so we all start bulk buying and thinking, oh my God, I need gasoline. There's enough gasoline out there, even when they're saying, fossil fuels, we need to replace it with electric cars by 2030 because we're not going to have any fuel left, any crude oil. There's enough crude oil still left on the planet to last another 150 to 300 years, they say, even at maximum capacity. There's fields of oil off the coast of Venezuela that haven't even been tapped. And I know there is in Brazil as well, because I've been down there and I was working with a geological team. They're saying all of this area, it's a little bit expensive right now for us to mine it, to extract the oil. But as soon as it goes over $100 a barrel, it'll be cost efficient to get in there. So there's enough oil out there. We don't need to have shortages. Well, this is all about manipulation and fear factoring.
Absolutely. But the prices are so high. I mean, how do you think that's affecting people's lives now?
Oh, they're being ripped off again because this is like this is when you go to the casino, Nick, and you play roulette, you either put your money on red or black. And if you put it on red and it comes up black, you've got to double down on the red. And if you lose, you've got to double down again until you come back on black. These guys have had all of their their funding stripped away from now. This incident in Ukraine, all of that, it's absolutely extremely confidential, but they all know that they're all stuffed because the business that they've been doing there is now coming out. All of their cash flow is gone. They've got no more business. They're being watched. The new financial systems come in, the QFS, they can see every transaction. There's no more under the table black deals. There's no more doing business with African nationals saying, okay, you give me the diamond rights, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. We'll send you palletfuls of cash. You know, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to give you the printing block for $100 bills and just print your own money. I mean, that happened with Saddam Hussein. They gave him the $100 bill. They wanted the plates so he could print his own money. But it's the last minute attempt at keeping us in fear, because now they're trying to keep, World War III is coming. We're all going to get nuked. There's no food. There's no water. Water's gone. Food's gone. No gasoline. Can't move around. Might as well, stay in the house. It's their attempt for us to accept this. What you need us to do is come and help you. We're the government. We're going to come and help you. So what we need you to do is put an electronic chip in there. We get rid of cash. Don't worry. We're going to give you an allowance every week so you can eat. And here's your gasoline allowance on rationing. But it's more trickery from them to try and make us submit into their new world order where we own nothing and are happy. Because, I don't want my car anymore. Every time, even if I go to work now, it's like £100 just to go to work and back. I can't afford that. I'm getting rid of it.
I mean, I think that there's two things. They're running out of money. They don't have any more money to blackmail you and bribe. So they're increasing everything as much as they can to not only fear us, which you're right, but also so they can have more money to continue with their corrupt dealings. Or
absolutely.
My other theory is that the white hats are fully in control in increasing everything to wake people up and to see how bad Biden is, to play the role of the deep state, but to exaggerate the deep state's agenda so that people can wake up and we can speed up the timeline. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it feels more like a white hat to me, but I think the white hats are playing it that way so they can make the black hats, the cabal, feel as that they're in control. Because look, what's driven gasoline prices up is this crisis in the Ukraine with Russia. And what's Russian oil got to do with the world, really? Because they can still sell it. But as the world said, oh no, we're not going to buy from them because they're bad guys. So we're going to cut off our nose to spite our face. So they're trying to blame somebody else for it. But yeah, I think, again, it's an interesting theory. I like that. They're going to say, look how bad things got when Biden was in control, when Boris was in control, when Jacinta was in control. You've been prisoners of your own home, forced to take a medicine that doesn't work multiple times, that you cannot remove from your system. You can see it clearly now that it's given many, many people health issues and killed millions. But we didn't do that. You were told to do that from your government, and these are the people that did it. So there's no going back now, buddy. We're way over the top of that hill on the downward slope because there's just too many millions and millions of people see it now. Even people before that were voting one way, they'll never vote that way again. They see it.
They can see it. And the deep state have never been this bad because they've always been very strategic. So which tells me that the white hats could be in control with what's happening to make the deep state look really bad because it's so not strategic that people are waking up and realizing this. And like you said, they will not be voting. If Trump were to run again, I think he would be, I mean, he won last time, but he would be winning much, much more, Oh yeah,
everybody would vote for him. Think about it this way. It's like a maze where you put a mouse into. You can manipulate the mouse by going different directions by putting a cheese somewhere. And I really think that that's it. They keep manipulating all of these cabal players to making very, very bad mistakes just to see where they're going to go. Because the intel that they've got on them and the technology, I think all of their technology has been infiltrated. They're listening to the calls. They're watching the account transactions. I think it's just the final. I mean, what? As bad as that sounds, if it all ends tomorrow and it all goes back to what we're talking about, I'm going to be like, when you have the perfect beer or a cocktail or a bag of chocolates, Nick, and you accidentally eat the last one. It's that when you really wanted to just savor that last one, so, oh, I love these, my face, you eat it. So if this all ends tomorrow and we don't have that last flavorable, savorable moment, we're saying, look how good it is, because it's a fantastic show what's going on. I mean, Frontline, we're lucky to be involved in it so much every day. From the minute I wake up to the last minute before I crash out, I'm involved in it. There's all sorts of stuff flowing in through the telegrams and the Instagrams. You're the same. You're getting intel all day long. Absolutely. But I've absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is the final few months, really, of all of this.
I believe that. I think this is the real fall of the cabal. World War III is to get rid of the cabal, so we can evolve as human beings, light beings, and do because we are the real human consciousness that have love and empathy, not the cabal. But David Mahoney, it's been a great pleasure to have you once again. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
I wouldn't worry about World War III. I think this is just, again, mainstream media trying to terrify you. Guys, if you're worried about what's happening, just turn off your TV, put yourself in a nice place somewhere, on the beach or having a walk in the woods, and just take a few deep breaths and just breathe in what's going on. Because everybody already knows it's inside there. But with all of this electromagnetic pollution coming at you from phone calls and messages and television and newspapers, get away from it. Go into nature, go on the beach, switch off and tune in and feel the answers. So you got to stop thinking and start feeling, and you'll feel so much better from knowing that you are connected and being guided. And I realize it's a whole world of confusion out there. And that example you just gave now, is it the cabal trying to extract the last few pennies from the coffers? Or is it the white hats saying to us, look how bad it is, look what they did this? Could be both sides, but you've got to feel what answer resonates with you the most. And that's what the great thing about that is, Nick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we have the gold standard in Russia. Well, David, thank you so much. Have a lovely day, and we'll speak again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
It's feet up now. I'm going to have another cup of English tea, Nick. It's a cold and rainy day here in Spain, but thanks, Nick. Always appreciate it. And you always get the best out of me. I don't know. You're very good at what you do. Other people stammer and stubble and trip over, but you always get the best, Nick. And I appreciate you keeping in touch.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you so much. And we'll speak soon.
Thanks, buddy. See you soon. Bye-bye, guys.
You too.